As we move into week 6, we will be looking at the second half of chapter 3A, which starts on page 12 and runs through page 19. And this week we're going to focus on advertising and promotion. Last week's section talked a lot about marketing, and you'll remember that is the identifying the customer and what they want, then creating the product to fit what they need. But even if you have the product that your customers want, unless you advertise and offer promotions to get them to your business, they may not come. So we're going to look this week at advertising and promotion. How do you get people to come see what you actually have at your business? As you develop a marketing plan, you have to have a section that deals with advertising and promotion. In that section, you want to include details about your overall goals. So perhaps you want to increase sales, or you want to develop customer loyalty. Maybe you want to increase your profit margin. So you want to specify whatever your goal is in the advertising and promotion section of a marketing plan. Then you want to make sure that those goals have measurable objectives. So if you want to increase sales, then one of your objectives may be to increase the number of customers. Or you may focus on increasing the average sale per customer. Or you may want to sell a specific number of a specific product. Whatever the case, you need to come up with goals and objectives that will help you determine what your advertising plan will be. If you're going to use paid advertising through traditional media outlets such as the newspaper, television, radio, then you usually want to have a good promotion in place to support that so that you can build some public relations and get some publicity so people are paying attention. You usually or typically want to keep this spending for advertising and promotion to around 5% of your sales. Some people go a little less, but if you reinvest about 5% of your sales, then you probably have the financial ability to do the adequate amount of advertising and promotion. So let's look at just advertising. Advertising is the process, or the goal of advertising is to get people into your business. That's all you're trying to do, get people in the door. So whether you're using the newspaper, TV, radio, internet, billboards, whatever the case may be, your goal in advertising is to get people in your door. So as we look at advertising, I'd like to look at 6 forms of advertising, and this is in no way an all-inclusive list, but these are probably the 6 most common forms of advertising. First of all, if we look at newspaper advertising, we have to consider the demographic information for the people who would receive the newspaper. Personally, I don't subscribe to a newspaper. Occasionally I might pick up a newspaper, or if I'm at someone's house I might read that newspaper, but it's not something that I subscribe to and get on a regular basis. So if I would fit your target population, the newspaper is probably not the best place for you to advertise. Then we have what's called Valpak, or some people call it bulk mailing. In this type of mailing, it's an interruption mailing because you have not given permission. You just get this postcard or letter in the mail from a company, and it's usually addressed to current resident, and they're giving you some kind of information about what they're doing or a sale that they're having, but it's not specifically sent to you, it's just sent to your house. So anyone who lived in that house would receive this mail regardless of whether or not you were there. This is different from email marketing or email advertising, because if you're going to use email advertising, it's a type of permission marketing. In other words, someone has given you their email address. Maybe you ask for it upon checkout. That's becoming a real popular thing. But there is no service that just says, hey, if you'll pay us, we'll send out an email to this huge group of people who have email, unless you have previously signed up for something that got you on that mailing list. So it's a little different than just receiving something in the mail. And as email becomes more popular, and as paper copies and postage continues to increase, email is becoming more and more popular as far as getting the word out to people. Then, of course, there are always radio advertisements. If you're going to do a radio advertisement, be sure that you repeat your message 3, maybe 4 or 5 times, because people don't see that. They're usually driving down the road. And if that's the case, then they need to hear the message over and over to make sure that they get the message. Or maybe they're at home cleaning or working in the garage. Whatever the case may be, you want to repeat that several times. If you decide to market or advertise via television, you're going to be competing with other noises that are going on in the house, because I don't know about you, but if I'm watching television and a commercial comes on, that's usually when I get up and go do whatever I need to do, go get my popcorn or go check email or whatever. You also want to consider the station that you'll advertise on, because not all people watch PBS. Some people do, and if that's your target market, then sure, you want to advertise there. But you have to be really careful when you use television marketing, because it is so expensive. You want to make sure that you're reaching your target market. And then finally, websites. A website these days for a business is almost essential. People seem to go to the web first thing before they even look anywhere else to get information. And you may only have a Facebook page, or you may have a Twitter account that you send out information from your business, and that may be enough just to create an account on social media when you start out. But as your business grows, you'll definitely want to invest in a good website. And let me just take a second here to encourage you to take an integrated advertising campaign approach. This means that you give the same message everywhere. The first thing that comes to mind for me is McDonald's and the "I'm loving it" slogan. That slogan, "I'm loving it," appears everywhere that they advertise. Another example would be Walmart, the blue sparkle. It seems to be on their advertisement papers that come in the mail. It's on the building. It's on your receipt. So that from the beginning to the end of the sale, from the time the person sees the advertisement until they make a purchase, they see that same advertising campaign. And this just promotes uniformity and eliminates confusion for people. If you remember at the beginning, I said that once you start an advertising plan, then you need to also add promotion. And a promotion just takes advertising one step further. If an advertisement's purpose is to get people into your business, the promotion is an activity that you do to put your advertising into motion. So perhaps you have special events. Maybe you make your business available for educational tours for children, or you have a senior citizens group come there, or you allow garden clubs to come. Another thing that has grown in popularity in recent years is agritourism, where some greenhouses have started aligning maybe a cornfield maze adjacent to the property, or they are having like paint a pumpkin and kids can come in and paint a pumpkin. Whatever the case may be, it's an event that's getting people to the business. You also want to get involved in your local community. So, maybe you can do things with the local Chamber of Commerce. I know some Chamber of Commerces have like decorate the street in the fall, or they have decorate a tree around Christmas time. And you want to be involved with those things. That way people see you actively involved, and it helps again with building public relations. Then the third thing here is create relationship with media outlets. If you think about it, there are opportunities for greenhouses to host radio stations. A lot of local radio stations are always looking for something to do. So as the springtime of the year comes around, you could always host a radio station there and have some information for people available about when to plant, what to plant, and then that always gets your name out in the public. Then finally, there's customer loyalty programs, and we know this best as value cards, but you don't have to have a computerized system to do this. Some companies, small businesses, do punch cards, the little business-sized cards that say, hey, if you spend $10 with us 10 times, we'll give you 10% off a purchase, or whatever you want to make that. But that's another type of promotion, just to re-emphasize the advertising and get people to come to your business.